Hi, Mynoo.
Hello. Thank you all and welcome. And Catherine, we missed you last week, yes. And wishing you the very best for your upcoming launch.
Thank you.
Okay, it's time for the 10th commandment. And Catherine, you're going to handle the back room, the waiting room. There are a few people there. So before I go into the 10th commandment, I follow guidance, and my guidance is to do a recap first and then go into the 10th commandment, because the 10th commandment literally brings everything together in terms of how we are going to move forward and conduct our life, having access to this wisdom, to this knowledge. So beginning with the first one, the first commandment is, the first thing, even before we talk about the first one, these 10 commandments are 10 commandments for the new world. And there are 10 commandments which really define what the foundation is of this new world. So literally, our new world, there is the new world, which is the energetics of this planet that we are all in. And in that is our new world as it is emerging. So the foundation on which our new world that is emerging is what is talked about in these commandments. So firmly, there is a trust that is being lodged in the environment that we live in the form of a frequency, so that we as humans can rise in love, which is our innate vibrational frequency. And we can become aware and conscious about the choices we make. And we become vigilant, we become diligent, we become discerning. And it is called for, if we are to even be able to stand still on this foundation of the 10 commandments, that the 10 commandments describe to us so powerfully. Because if we are not any of that, if we are not consciously aware of the choices that we are making, if we don't keep our finger on the pulse, the commandments, as they suggest, would show us as if the world is so unstable. And that is what will engulf us. But as long as we are aware of these commandments and we keep our finger on the pulse, consciously choosing that which is the best for us, we know that it will turn out to be the best for all. And that is the intention of these 10 commandments. So the first one, most of you here have done most of these sessions, so it will not be new to you. The first one is unknown is the known. And in this session that we did here in this series, we went into how do you work with this, where unknown is the known. It's tough enough to deal with, like there are these three parts of how this known piece shows up. Known and unknown shows up for us. There's what we know, what we know, we don't know, and what we don't know, we don't know. And what this commandment is suggesting is really the foundation is what you don't know, is how is what the energetics of this world are. So if that is accepted, that there is a lot that I don't know, and that is what I do know, it allows you to be in your center and you can evolve from there. So to really get to know practically how you work with it, You listen to the YouTube recording of this session. Unknown is the known. The second one is uncertainty certain. So if that is what is certain, that there is uncertainty, and you take that as a given, how do you work with that? The first two are a huge gift to us because both of those, whether you like it or not, whether you believe in it or not, both of those are playing out on the planet in different forms, different guises, to such an extent that it supports us to develop that capability of unconditional acceptance of what is. The third commandment is change is constant. We'd heard about change is constant, with the evolution of the Industrial Revolution, the technology revolution, and so on. And that's just so now. It's no longer about survival. Thriving instinct is what counts. Because when you apply your thriving instinct, survival is taken care of. So it's literally like, there's a body of work that I have, which is called the Miracle Lens. And you've heard me talk about the Miracle Lens from time to time. This body of work also has 9 filters that you can apply onto the Miracle Lens, and it shows you a different perspective. So the thriving instinct that counts, thriving is one of the filters that I have worked with for a few years now. What's exciting for me is that the trajectory, at a foundational level for this planet going forward is calling for each human to build the thriving instinct. So survival is taken care of. You're not gasping for breath. You can pause a moment. One of the biggest contributions of the Corona time, that's why I call it the crown phenomenon, is to be able to take that respite, to be able to just take that pause, reclaim our crown, and start to notice the thriving instinct as nature shows up with all of its evidence in its regalia, reclaiming some of those things that we said could not be reversed and were permanently damaged. We've seen nature and species of various kinds resurrect. And that's a thriving instinct evidence that is being shared with us all. The 5th commandment is take nothing for granted. That is the modus operandi. Now, these 5 together, if you were to look at them together, it can feel like so destabilizing. And yet, what these 5 present us is the opportunity that the 6th commandment, foundations, which is it's an up-leveling from alignment to flow to coherence. This is a very powerful one. And at an energetic foundation level, that is the energy. So if you feel you've had to work hard at getting aligned to the calling of your soul, to the calling of your purpose and all of that, this is the time to just declare, I am aligned, and start taking action consistent with that. As you do that, the environment is such that it takes you into flow. And as you keep flowing with it, you can then slide into coherence. That's at an individual level. The opportunity exists at a team level as well. So if you have a team that is coming together, for a project, for a business, You have the opportunity to move from alignment to flow to coherence. It's pretty powerful what can be achieved with an aligned team. Can you imagine what can be achieved with a team where each member of the team is in flow? And can you imagine what's possible and available when everyone is in coherence? And the great thing is, this particular session, you look it up on YouTube, it shows you ways in which you can do this practically. And the exciting thing is, even by making a choice that that's the journey that you're going to take, you're supported by the environment. It's like you're held in a safe container to go forth and experiment. Commandment number 7 is unconditional acceptance is the WD-40 that lubricates expansion. So the interesting thing is the first 6 commandments really get you into this space where it surfaces, it like literally brings to the surface anything and everything that you might question about, is this acceptable, is this not acceptable? All of those things surface up until you get to the 7th one, where you're now ready to release all this stuff that might have disheveled you, that has come to the surface. And the 7th one presents you in a loving way an opportunity to unconditionally accept what is and do so consciously. The moment you do that, your expansion or expansiveness in whatever it is that you take on literally occurs in a frictionless way. It lubricates expansion. Commandment number 8 is a move, it's a shift. It's a shift from sustainable to regenerative. How exciting that we have an opportunity so that every time we put our energy or our resource into anything, we have an opportunity, and we are so supported that input from us can become regenerative. So whatever result that we wish to achieve is achieved, and it can start regenerating itself. So we have an opportunity to dramatically, cut out false starts. It calls for a little bit of thinking and planning, and the thinking and planning is only to do with intention. What is it that you wish to achieve? What is the consequence that you are seeking? And following some practical steps, as we covered when we talked about commandment number 8, every time, when you put forward any energy into anything, that intention is achieved or certainly progressed very powerfully, and then it regenerates itself. So you can focus your attention on another thing, on another thing, on another thing. Now, this is a very important commandment because there's so much that is calling to be rebuilt, and there's so much that is calling to be innovated and co-created from scratch. So it's like the divine is blessing us, saying, okay, got it. You guys have really gone through, lots of starts and stops and starts and stops. I'm going to give you the gift of being very, very powerful in utilizing your resources. And whatever it is that you put your energy into, the result is achieved and it regenerates itself. So you can focus your attention on something else. It also means the movement is so strong that becoming comfortable in status quo will actually take you in the wrong direction that you don't want. Status quo is not sustainable. So each of these commandments are such that they really do bring forth momentum, and movement. Commandment number 9 is a move. It's a move from spectacular results to extraordinary results. A game that I've been playing for certainly the last couple of years with some intensity. And Gaurav and I chose to co-create the playground for extraordinary results, knowing that that is what is to be the norm. Extraordinary results has 3 components: unprecedented performance, operational excellence, transforming quality of life, overlaid with 3 faculties: yourself, your stakeholders, and the planet. And these 2 triangles, of 3 coming together are structured in such a way energetically that it forms a Merkaba. And those of you who know how a Merkaba works, and you can go online and have a look at that shape of the Merkaba. Literally every tip of the star of Merkaba is not only a receptor of cosmic wisdom, it is also a beamer of that which is powerfully produced. And therefore, this playing field of extraordinary results, which is where we are all playing, presents us with a choice of whether we wish to be a player or we wish to be a spectator. And once you choose to be a player, then you are playing the game with the intention of producing unprecedented performance, operational excellence, and transforming quality of life for yourself, your stakeholders, and the planet. The corona phenomenon, the crown phenomenon, I call it, has certainly demonstrated extraordinary results in action. In both directions. We certainly have experienced, those of us who've chosen to just step into ourselves, we have experienced extraordinary results in one or several aspects of our life. And even the social distancing and the fact that we've all, those of us who've been living with other people, friends or family and stuff, or everybody just huddled up into one space, that alone has called for some degree of operational excellence for ourselves and our stakeholders, which are our friends and family. And as we've gone along implementing this, we've had the opportunity to experience a transformation of quality of life as our own quality of life starts to transform. Nature has reclaimed itself. And we are able to see a transformation of quality of life in nature also. It's really an evidence of the field of extraordinary results is on, it's prepared. And if you are already playing that game of extraordinary results, you have the opportunity for a 100x multiplier. Now we get on to commandment number 10. Commandment number 10 is another move one. It's a move from command and control to collaborative co-creation of coexistence. A move from command and control to collaborative co-creation of coexistence. So this is an opportunity that is presented to us where you don't need to use bull force for anything. the pull force of pushing things through, regardless of whatever occurs. It's command and control. Now, what happens if you do use pull force? It's literally like, using pull force in a wall that is, that can just be penetrated very easily. All that will happen is you will just fall flat on your face. And at worst, it'll be embarrassing. No, as a minimum, it'll be embarrassing. At worst, you could seriously damage yourself. So this 10th commandment, this series and everything that I've been doing with Catherine on, every Thursday evening and Friday morning here in India, every session comes up with lots of very practical, rich tools. So if we are shifting from command and control to collaborative co-creation of coexistence, the first thing to know is to do a deep dive and understand, where are we still holding on to command and control? And that could be in a relationship where the relationship has got some codependent characteristics. It could be where you feel entitled. And the entitled could be to do with love. It could be to do with recognition, acknowledgement, appreciation. So look for the first step to really work with this commandment in a very practical way. The first step is uncover where command and control is rampant. So in my case, I'm talking about having gone through all of the spiritual awakenings and everything. And I implement, what I shared with you, I implement for myself. So when I seriously thought I don't have command and control anywhere. I looked at, well, where is command and control rampant? Expecting an answer, nowhere. And I found that command and control was rampant. Given I traveled so much, was very clear that wherever I went, I would have my space. And that me time was non-negotiable. Command and control. And with uncertainty, certain, take nothing for granted. There were many, many occasions where that did not happen. And what effect does that have? It takes you out, away from your center. And sometimes it even destabilizes a center of gravity. And you trip and fall. It certainly destabilizes the center of gravity emotionally, and you do trip and fall. But even recognizing that I had this command and control piece going on, and it was rampant in this one area, I didn't need to go into a big process to remove it. It was like, oh, I see. So I'm just going to declare an intention and be resolved about what it is that I'm here to cause, which is expecting and accepting miracles being the norm for humans and humanity, being attached to having my me time and doing whatever I need to do in my me time space. It actually takes me away from the miracle of what is. So just in recognizing where command and control is there was very helpful. So this is step number one. Look, with each of these commandments, we've gone through more or less 7 steps, even though I haven't consciously kept account of it, but when I've been working through it, there are 7 steps. So here, the first step is get to see where you have command and control being exercised. Step number 1 is, where is it rampant? Step number 2, we are still on command and control. Where is it subtle? And often it would be in passive aggressive reactions that you may have. Where is it subtly showing up? The only area of subtle command and control behavior that I saw was a little bit of intolerance of people who just are not open to looking at the glass as being half full. You know, so when I noticed that, I thought that was perfectly fine to have that attitude, but not if I am aiming to live the calling of my soul, which is expecting and accepting miracles as the norm for humans and humanity. Well, that interferes with that. So the second step is, where is command and control subtle? The third one is also to do with command and control. It's a big one. It's a big one. And here, what you look at is, where is command and control showing up from the outside, where we have very willingly given our power away to it. This is not necessarily, other humans. It could even be nature. I get a headache when it's too hot. You're giving your power away to something outside of you, where that is commanding and controlling you. So look at where command and control is being exercised from outside of you, and you have given your power away to that. Look at that in what I call as a full spectrum trajectory. Physically, where have you given your power away? It may be to do with a health condition. Oh, I have this going on with my back, or I am unfit. Any such labels that we give to ourselves, or any such proclamations that lead to a compromise way of living our life, is us giving our power away to command and control. All of that was fine before, because that was the predominant energy. And now it isn't. The new world, command and control, there's a shift from that to collaborative co-creation of coexistence. So if you're still going to hold on to an old way of being, when everything around you does not support that, it's like, trying to swim when you're actually not even in the water. You'll look quite crazy to everyone else, and you'll just tire yourself out and won't move forward. You'll be just flapping your arms and legs about. It's like that. The energetics is collaborative co-creation of coexistence, and you start going about command and controlling, from your side, or giving that command and control power to something outside of you. Well, it'll be funny for some time. For others, it'll be exhausting for you fiercely tiresome until you just collapse in a heap. And then they throw dirt on your face, which is when you're dead. So there is no need, let's just really go do a deep dive. Take this time between now, today's session, and next week to literally go in and examine these three pieces. This is a big one, this commandment. I was very surprised at how many elements showed up for me. There's so much here in this third step where we've just accepted it, we don't even realize it. So take that time. It could be, the way it shows up is there'll be certain proclamations, men are a certain way, or women are a certain way, or, millennials are this way, or all that stuff is command and control that is starting to show up in our field. And it takes us away from the lightness of being and the unleashing that is available to us when we work with collaborative co-creation of coexistence. So having done the first three steps, let's now go to step number 4. Step number 4 is the step of unconditional acceptance. Now, here you always begin, when it comes to unconditional acceptance, you always begin by engaging with the full lay of the land of what is going on. So you would have uncovered so many of these places where command and control is showing up in the first 3 steps. So when you go to the step number 4, you first begin by engaging with, how do I feel about what I've discovered? How do I feel about what I've uncovered? Are there some things here that I desperately want to hang on to because it gives me a feeling of safety? Are there some things here that I want to run away from and I can't seem to shake it off? So really go into, how does it make you feel? Because without engaging with how it makes you feel, your mind goes ballistic. And in my world, that's pretty much all of you, and so many of you have been engaging in my work. And certainly those who've done the journey into miracles and are continuing that journey. You know that in my world, you take the mind along. So you never shut the mind off. And in my world, it's just solid ground. There is no carpet. There isn't even a closet to shove things into. So, you may as well, in this step, really get to know how you feel about it. And in acknowledging the feeling of it, what you're doing is you're making the connection between the mind and the heart. So the first 3 steps are all mental. They're all mental. Like they're engaging your mind. So your mind is feeling very acknowledged and it's there with you. With this step, the 4th step, you're connecting your mind with the heart by, again, acknowledging how you're feeling about certain things, everything that you've uncovered. Once when you think you finished writing it, you just think, well, is there anything more? And go write some more. So that all that you're feeling, is out there. And your mind knows you have completely got what it has been holding on to. Remember, the mind is all about ensuring that you survive. You know, and survival is a given if you are to thrive. And the moment the mind gets, okay, yes, we shall survive, she's got it all, he's got it all, you can now step into the moment, coming from your heart, and make a conscious choice. And then you make a conscious choice of unconditionally accepting what is. That little voice in your head will not be screaming. And it's that little voice that is saying, what little voice is she talking about? That one. Do not go into, I unconditionally accept it. Well, you don't. Sometimes we use acceptance also as a command and control thing, where we start becoming a martyr. Unconditional acceptance is a very powerful tool of bringing your mind along, stationing yourself in the magic and miracles of the now, connecting to your gut instinct, which is the thriving instinct. The gut instinct is naturally a thriving instinct. So now when you've done step number 4, and you're in that space where you made a conscious choice of unconditional acceptance of what is, now you're ready to go into the next step. Step number 5. Step number 5 is all about collaborativeness. Now, step number 5 is where you first, as you're working with this commandment, this is where you first connect to declaring that you are here to live the calling of your soul. You may or may not know it. And it doesn't matter. Those of you who know your source mastery from the work that I've been doing, and those of you who don't and are curious about it, message Catherine or message on this chat. So you make a conscious choice of just operating in your mastery, standing in source. And when you stand in source, and even if you don't know your source mastery, you make a choice that I am going to live the calling of my soul. You will know that you're living the calling of your soul when you feel that yummy, flowy feeling in you. You now go into this step, do a deep dive. You're going to do a deep dive into who are your collaborators in this. My invitation to everyone is make a choice of living a full spectrum life. That's where the secret of aliveness lives. So when you look at who are my collaborators in this, you just do a scan of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, and environmental. If I'm to live the calling of my soul, who are going to be my collaborators to get me into a state of perfect, pristine physical well-being? Who are going to be my collaborators to bring the mental regenerative, uplifting vibrational state that I have continual access to? Who are going to be my collaborators in doing that? Collaborators are not just humans or organizations or institutions. It includes the environment that you live in. It includes nature. It may include a prayer. It could be whatever. Just seriously engage with that. Who are my collaborators that are going to support me to release emotional upsets at the point that they occur, or release any triggers that may be held within us. Who are my collaborators that are going to keep me connected to spirit, the spiritedness of me, the spiritual collaborators? Who are my collaborators that bring about an enriching, fulfilling, exquisite, enchanting social dynamics, where I experience a sense of fulfillment, a sense of accomplishment? Who are my collaborators to support the environment in which I show up, the environment in which I connect with my community, the environment which is the container in which everything about life and aliveness as we know it occurs? Who are my collaborators in that? This is a really huge stock take. Now, whether you do anything at all with any of these collaborators, the fact that you have acknowledged them, there's a registering that takes place, in your brain. So when you come across someone that you've classified as a collaborator, and if you allow yourself to be, you will automatically step into step number 6, which is about co-creation. And you can get very intentional about co-creation. So first you've identified your collaborators. And if you did nothing with them, when you show up, as long as you're in your flow, you can pick it up, you will go into a space of co-creation. And you can get very intentional about it. This is a very rich step. And those of you who've been a part of my venture collective, where we are all playing the game in our businesses of delivering extraordinary results, and Catherine, you've been a part of that for a while. You know the game that we play is a game which has 2 actions of requests and promises. So co-creation step number 6, is where you look at your collaborators and you make a conscious choice. Is this a collaborator that I'm going to make certain requests to? Is this a collaborator that I'm going to be making certain promises to? So this is where you engage with, knowing what actions are you going to take with these collaborators. Where are you going to make requests? Where are you going to make promises? And remember, a very important collaborator for you is your physical body. A very important collaborator for you is your higher self. So, I'm saying in working with this commandment, you begin it at the highest level. We're coming up to the holiday period. So there's a really wonderful opportunity to do this work, which is the implementation of your life with the intention of coming alive, living the calling of your soul. This commandment is all about that. It's about living out your life, experiencing aliveness. So use this holiday period, to follow these steps. You can do it over 7 weeks. 1 week you're just focusing on step number 1, or you can do it over 7 days. So here you go in and look at your collaborators. Where are you making a promise? Where are you making a request? And once you've done that, this is where you go into action straight away. So when you've done this list of where you're making a request or a promise, you make a choice to act on it within the next 10 minutes. You make a choice to act on it, act on another one within the next half an hour. And I often say to people, particularly when they're working on their business and they're playing the game of extraordinary results, create a game, make 6 requests before breakfast. So what if you chose to do that? You could do it before lunch if you're not comfortable doing it before breakfast. My invitation for you would be, do it for 1 week. Just have a go. 6 requests before breakfast. Now we go to so this is step number 6. Each of these steps in this commandment, each of these steps, do them fully. Every time you feel like you've written enough, I can't think of anything more, put it down, have a drink of water, go for a walk, stretch, whatever, come back and see, is there anything else? This becomes like your master Bible, if you like. And in doing so, remember the 2021 energies, I've talked about that. They're all about flowing in flow. So use this holiday period to complete all of these steps. That would be my invitation to you. Or at least get to one cut of that completion, so that as the calendar turns, you're in implementation. Getting all of this out of you on paper, that in itself removes so many breaks and weights and shackles and all of that, that it gives your body the ability to recalibrate. And you can physically be flowing in flow. I'm asking you to do this in a full spectrum way, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, and environmental, so that you, as a result of doing these 7 steps, you're actually firing on all cylinders and are doing it with a lightness of being. And that takes me to step number 7, which is coexistence. Everywhere, this is a very important distinction to get. Coexistence does not mean you have to compromise. Remember, every time we say, oh, I guess, I'll compromise here, I'll give in a little and they'll give in a little and it'll be fine. It is never fine. We hold on to it within us and it surfaces somewhere. I'm saying make a choice that is the best for you and it is the best for all. I'm not saying make a choice that is good for you. I'm saying the best. There's a different energy to it. There's a different nuance to what's best. And when you're following this approach, looking at a shift from command and control to collaborative co-creation of coexistence, you're not going to get narcissistic about it. And when you choose what is best for you, you literally stop being entitled, you stop seeking validation, you are being center stage, acknowledged, appreciated, loved, and respected by the most important person in your life, and that is you. So now when we go into coexistence, remember, you're not starting with coexistence, you're getting there at the end, having done the first 6 steps. You learn the power of making a request, not being attached to that person actually accepting that request. Making that request, giving them the freedom to choose to accept or deny it, knowing that, we live in an abundant world. If the one person says no, there'll be others who will say yes. And if nobody accepts your request, then it's time to regroup. There's no need to bulldoze or push your way through anything. So here is where you start bringing some semblance of priorities. So in this step, you look at, okay, full spectrum. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, and environmental. So if I'm bringing forth coexistence in my physical world, what would that look like? What are the areas where that coexistence requires to be there? For me, many years ago in 2010, I chose that all aspects of my life coexist. All aspects of my life coexist. I also chose they coexist with ease, grace, and joy. So ease, grace, and joy coexist. So the physical piece was all aspects of my life coexist. The mental was ease, grace, and joy coexists every step of the way. So I'm saying you literally go into, if I'm to be firing and thriving on all cylinders, then what am I prioritizing now? And you can prioritize that for now, for the next quarter, for the next year. Use this commandment, to replace the New Year resolution actions that we take on. 2021, okay, first quarter, what's going to coexist physically? What's going to coexist mentally? And remember, the context is thriving on all cylinders. What am I taking on? Now, this is what starts to define the doing part. 2020 was where the doing became so present to us. And I said, this is a year you're going to lead with doing, and being will occur. I didn't realize it was a corona crown phenomenon that will make that happen. You do social distancing, and being reconnected to the magic of you happened. And from 2021 onwards, it's flowing in flow. It's a being doing dance. So coexistence is paramount in everything, every step of the way. So even if it is something that you think you're doing by yourself, for yourself, there are many aspects of you. There is your physical body, there is your ethereal body, there is your emotional body, there is the higher self, there is the soul being that exists within you. So coexistence is there even when you're focusing just on yourself. This 10th commandment, and I'm like really laboring it so hard, that it is literally, it's time to relinquish pushing your way through, pushing your point of view, bulldozing, applying that horsepower to go across the finish line. Release. Just go on this wonderful gallop, being truly connected to yourself. If you work with horses, they get disheveled if you are not in your center. And if you are, Even the toughest horse that has been very difficult to work with returns to its center. It's all about coexistence. As an action, one of the things that some of you have heard me say is it's not about silence, it's about stillness. And there's me. I've had some big silent retreats which have generated so much wisdom. And I see the power of stillness. So Catherine will be doing a series of stillness retreats in 2021. Now, when I look back, some of the most profound bodies of work have come in the busiest of times, in the busiest of places. It's like there's a coexistence that is starting to occur within me. And that is what is available to all of us. It's a rich 10th commandment that brings everything together into how we can act and move forward, working in an enriching way with all of the commandments. So having said that, you can listen to each of those commandments over and over. They really are here to stay. They literally are like the tablet that has come down for many, many generations to come. And we will be working with it. What's the next series that we are embarking on from next week? It's like Bucky Fuller said, Buckminster Fuller. He said that the game I would say he was playing was, creating a world that works for everyone. And the new world, with these commandments, we have an opportunity to get very proactive, to transmutate and transform some of the old ways in which we operated into this new world and bring them into this new world stage, powered by the foundation of the 10 commandments. So we are embarking on a very big body of work and wisdom. It's called the 108 Pearls of Wisdom. Each week we will take one aspect of life as we know it, and with the wisdom that comes through, we will transform it into a pearl, which will be a pearl that represents an aspect of life that works for everyone. So we're going to take, some of them will be emotions, some of them will be actions, and they will evolve and emerge. And this is something that we would like to co-create with you also. That I have the first 40 that I've received, and you will also input this to me and to Catherine so that we can integrate it in the session topics that we do. So the first one, we're going to begin with relinquishing anger. And then we'll follow from there. There is, flowing abundance is another one. There's a whole series of topics that we will share with you, and we're going to begin with relinquishing anger. We may have anger, and there are people outside of us who have it. There's a reaction that we have to anger that sometimes takes us out of, our best self. How do you work with all of that? Grief, belief, loneliness, camaraderie. So there are many such topics. So as Catherine reaches out to you, asking you if you have any questions, remember to also share if you've got any particular aspects of life that you would love to see work for you. And you are an archetype. If there is something that you would like to see work for you, then it is something that would be of interest to many others. And we will take that on board. 108 is a very specific number, and I will talk more about that next week. So have a go working with this particular commandment between now and next week that we get together. And I pass it back to you, Catherine, so that you can invite the closing words and we can anchor those.
Thank you so much, Mynoo. I don't know, my fingers really are falling off, and I know this stuff, and I just could not stop taking notes. I don't know about the rest of you. I'm going to start the words because I am just in awe of what is. I'm totally in awe. And I love this next segment that we're going into with the 108 pearls and this collaborative co-creation of coexistence. It's just absolutely perfect. So with that, I invite you to place your words in the comments that are coming forth for you tonight so that I can share those with everyone. And I'm starting with the awe of what is. We have the abundance and we have the amazing, and there's so many awes that it's just remarkable.
Sometimes.
For some reason, I'm not getting anything in the chat. I don't know if you are, Mynoo.
Maybe it's because they were not allowed to chat.
Oh, my goodness. We'll have to do sign language then. It's just like
I have activated the chat now. So.
Okay. So if you could place your words in, I will read them for Mynoo. It's really exciting, Mynoo, this whole idea of this collaborative co-creation. It's going to be such a beautiful, beautiful way to go into the new year. So we have celebration of what is. Ready to co-create with the amazing group. I agree. Deep. Thank you, Renelle. All exquisiteness. Beautiful. Abundantly, gracefully grateful. Expansive and delightful. Extraordinary wisdom. Thank you. Peace and patience. Divine celebration. Another beautiful one. Creating beauty. Acceptance awaits. Divine celebration. I don't know if I read that one. I'm going to go back to that one. Oh my God, I love this. Let's tweak out our lives together. That is awesome. Limitless life. Peace and coherence. Full of the richness of possibilities of co-creation and coexistence. And exhilarating awareness. We have deep wisdom. Co-creating and exhilarating energy. It's so nice to have our soul family here. And it does really, truly feel that way. Thank you, Mynoo, for having us all. We all have a place to come to collaborate, which is so amazing.
Beautiful. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here. And we will see you next week. And if you're joining us on Beyond Meditation, we'll see you on Saturday. Thank you. Thank you.
And come with your 108 possibilities. Or at least one. Love to you all. Thank you so much. We'll see you right here next week. Take care, everyone.